Hi, I am Adewale Adesina. Welcome to this course titled Moodle Installation. Online learning is increasingly becoming a major part, an integral part of most educational institutions around the world today. Now, this is because it enables learners and teachers to connect in an interesting way online, anywhere, anytime, whenever they are ready. Now, this is different from the traditional brick and mortar system that you have the restrictions of time and place. Online learning completely eliminates that. And so this course is about using one of the very popular online learning systems called Moodle. Moodle is interesting because it is one of the very popular software that is out there in the world today that can be used for online learning. And many institutions around the world are using Moodle. In this session, we'll be looking at Moodle itself, the different ways we can get Moodle, the basic requirements for installing Moodle. After this, we'll look at part 1, which is pre-installation steps, what you and I need to have in place before going straight ahead to install Moodle. After that, we'll look at the installation process proper. And then part 3, we'll look at installing on a local system. So this is going to be a practical course. We're going to get our hands dirty, and I encourage you to try these steps out on your own so that you can get your own installation of Moodle ready and free. But before then, let's quickly look at Moodle facts. 1, Moodle is free and is an open source learning management system, also called LMS. It's free, the codes are available for people to use and to develop and improve on. And that's why it has a large growing number of users across the world. At the moment, as at the time of this recording, there are about 157,000 registered Moodle sites. Imagine, around the world. Now with over 200 million users, and this user base are growing on a daily basis. Also, Moodle has over 50% of the LMS market share across Europe, Latin America, and even in Africa. This statistics is even more. Likely there are more than 50% of users around Africa using Moodle. As at October 2019, Moodle had about 1,619 plugins available for people to use. Now, this tells us that there are large community of people working across the world, improving the codes, coming out with very nice and interesting features that is even making the software better and easier to use. And this goes on across over 241 countries in the world. So Moodle is a user-friendly e-learning platform which you will find very easy and good to use. And it emphasizes that learners and teachers can come together and contribute to the educational experience. Now let's look at the map of Moodle registration across the world. You will see that some regions have very dark color here. Now these are regions that have more than 11,000 installations of Moodle. This is very nice because the adoption is global. Coming to Africa, you will see that adoption of Moodle is also coming up to speed. Nigeria, for instance, has 687 registered sites. South Africa has the largest with 1,604 sites. And so you have at least a presence in almost every country of Africa. We going through this course, learning more about the installation of Moodle, we help have more people coming online to use Moodle. Now let's talk about Moodle releases. Moodle has 2 types of releases. One is the major release and then the minor release. Now the major release occurs every 6 months. And this tells you how dynamic the community is. Every 6 months you have a new code coming and it being improved with better features, faster features, more secured features, and more added plugins. Then you have the minor releases, which comes up every 2 months, which are just gradual improvements over the original Moodle code. How can you get Moodle? Now, there are different ways you can get Moodle. I have listed 5 here. The first is try out a site called Mount Orange School Site. It is a demo site that is provided for people across the world to test Moodle, to see how it looks like and to see whether they can use it. So just go to school.moodledemo.net and you get to the Mount Orange site. Now this site has many users. It's a demonstration site that gives people the opportunity to explore Moodle in action. Now you can check Moodle as a manager, as a teacher, as a student, a parent, on and on. So you can log in as a guest or log in, just create an account for yourself and you can browse through the different features. Even before doing anything, you can first get an idea of how Moodle works from this site. Secondly, you can use your institution's site. Many of us are in institutions and some of them may have Moodle installed. So you just need to approach an administrator and say, give me a course. This is my username, this is my email address, create a course for me and make me a lecturer or a teacher in the course. And then you begin to view it and create things and make it available for people to use. That is the second way you can also interact with Moodle. Now, the third way is you can create a Moodle site using a quick installer on a web host. Now, a web host is a company that gives people the opportunity to host their files, publish files on their servers and make it available to people all around the world. So you can do that. The interesting thing about some web hosts is that the quick installer installs Moodle and many of the Moodle installs may be old, outdated and less secured. That's because Moodle changes every 6 months and every 2 months there are things that are new. So it's sometimes difficult for even hosting providers to keep track of this development. So sometimes you may not get an updated version of Moodle by using the quick installer found in the site, but we'll come to this later on. Now, the fourth way you can get Moodle is by creating a live Moodle site from scratch on a web host. Now, you are in total control of how it's done, so you can get the latest, the best, and the greatest uploaded and installed. Now, this is what we will be using in this session. Also, we will also look at how you can create your own local installation of Moodle, like a test site or a sandbox, if you like, for practice and for you to quickly do some things without necessarily going into the internet to put in something on the production server. Now let's talk about servers. This is because Moodle needs to be hosted on some sort of server somewhere, somehow. Now a server is a computer hardware or software that gives that functionality for other programs or devices called clients. As the name implies, a server serves something. It provides a functionality. For instance, it can display web pages, websites. That is what a server essentially is all about. Now, the server can be on your local computer or it can be with a hosting provider somewhere in the cloud. Now, let's talk about web application requirements. Now, to get Moodle installed and working properly, Moodle is a web application, so there are some certain layers that must be in place. First, you need a client, that is a web browser. This is something like Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari, or Opera. So this is the beginning point, and almost every computer, literally every computer has one browser or the other. Then you need what is called a web server or HTTP server. Now, HTTP server is just something like Apache or IIS, which is, as the name implies, a server that helps you to serve pages. Now, you also need an application, a programming application like PHP, ASP.NET, Node.js, on and on. But we'll be using PHP for this session. You also need a database where files are stored. It's an important requirement also. So there are databases like Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL. For this session, we'll be using MySQL. A little bit about this server so as to bring about greater clarity. First is the Apache or HTTP server. Now, HTTP server just simply means Hypertext Transfer Protocol. What it does is it helps to deliver web content through the internet. So when you have files, you have folders like HTML documents, like videos, PDFs. So all these are put on the web server and then everybody can access it. Another thing web server does is it helps to handle large amounts of traffic. So this web server means that many people can connect at different places and get access to the resources you have available. So it's essential for an online application like Moodle. Next, you have PHP. You need PHP. Now, PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor. Now, it's a scripting language, a small programming language that is used to develop static and dynamic web pages. So you can make things dynamic, things that change. As soon as a change is made, it becomes available for everybody around the world. So that's what PHP helps to do, the actual programming. And you will have recognized some PHP files, like if you remember, maybe if you browse through some sites or some files, you will see files that have an extension .php. So that tells you that this is a PHP file. It is a file that contains code that helps in displaying an application or performing a function. Next, you have MySQL database. Now, databases are used to store data. All the data we're talking about, like the files, like the courses, they need to go somewhere. So the database receives all those data. The good thing about all these features I've mentioned is that they are free, they are open, they are not what you need to buy. They are open source applications that you can download and use. MySQL, for instance, can be used to add, access, manage the contents of a database. Now let's go properly into installing Moodle on a web host. How do you get Moodle installed on a web host? That is on a computer that is available for everybody to use. So we'll be looking at the steps to get this done. So the part one of this is the pre-installation steps. Before you go to install, there are certain things that needs to be sorted out. We'll look at them one after the other. Now, the first one is check the requirements for installing the version of Moodle that you want, because Moodle grows dynamically, as I've explained before, and more features come in. And so if you use a version that is not compatible with the server that you are trying to use, it may be a waste of money. So the first step is check. And the way to do that is you just go to download.moodle.org and look at the requirements of the different versions of Moodle available. So I'm in the site download.moodle.org, and I can see different things here. For instance, you have a standard Moodle, you have the extend Moodle, and then you have Moodle Mobile. But let's work with the standard Moodle because it is the most basic Moodle you can find. So you can click on latest releases. This latest release will take you to this page that allows you to see details about the Moodle package you're about to install. For instance, we can see that there is this Moodle 3.9.1. It just came out 4 days ago, so it's quite recent. And what are the requirements? The requirements are PHP 7.2, MariaDB 10.22, or MySQL 5.6. So if you have any of these with the correct version, you will be able to install. Now, if you don't have the correct version and you download this to use, the installation will not work. So this is the first and most important thing to check before going further. So I'll just go right ahead and download this Moodle file. So just click on download file. You can download a TAR file or a zip file, but the zip file is probably very common. So just click on it and it begins to download. So I have successfully downloaded the Moodle file. So I can just check the file and I can see it here. Actually, I have some other downloads too I've done before. But basically, that is the process of downloading Moodle, and then you have it ready to use. Okay, now we'll go to the next step, which is to choose a web hosting company. That is a company that you can put your Moodle files in, have your installation completed, and then get people to connect with it all across. So there are several hosting companies around, and you can choose which best suits your need and use the one that you want. So let me just take you through this site called hostingtribunal.com. It tries to present best web hosting companies as at 2020. So you can take a look at them and see what they have to say. So for instance, you see here something like Hostinger, and they tell you their uptime, the features they have, how people have rated them over time, and several information about it. You have SiteGround, you have A2 hosting. So all these are hosting companies that can be used actually, and a lot of them are very good and provide the feature. So this is necessary if you want to have Moodle accessed by anybody anywhere online in the world. Now, Bluehost is one of them, and then Scalar Hosting on. For this session, we'll be using Bluehost out of all the ones that are there. It's just a personal preference, and any of them will serve as well. So Bluehost is a hosting company that can be used. The next step 3, is to choose a domain name. Now, a domain name is the name that will be used usually on a web browser to access the Moodle site. So it's important you decide what name is suitable to you that people can put on the web browser, type, and call the website. There are different top-level domains that can be used. For instance, you have the .com domain, which symbolizes commercial organizations. You have the .edu, educational institutions.gov, the government institution. .int means international organizations, on and on. .org for non-profit organizations. So you choose one of these depending on the circumstance you have, and then you attach it with the name that you have chosen for the server. For instance, if you use your name, adewaleadditional.com, it can be a domain name if it's available that can be used to host the website. So get the domain name, that's step 3. Now, after the domain name has been gotten, the next step 4, is to acquire a hosting package. Okay, so usually a production site that should be accessible everywhere, you will need to pay for the service. I said earlier on we'll be using Bluehost. So if you go to the Bluehost site, www.bluehost.com, you can be able to register a domain name as well as to buy a space for yourself. And Bluehost sometimes, like many others, give offer. So just click on Get Started, and then you come to where you can choose a plan. Okay, so there are different plans: the basic plan, plus plan, choice plus plan. So you look at it and determine what you want to achieve. Do you just want a one website, or you want opportunity for multiple or unlimited websites? So this will form the basis of your choice. So for instance, just for a trial, or you are just dealing with a training site, choose and select the basic site. But if you want unlimited websites, unlimited storage, on and on and on, you can take a look at that. Whatever fits your need, you can select it as well. The good thing is that if you select, for instance, a basic site, you can upgrade to a higher site. So let's select a basic site. You put in your domain name. So for instance, if I want a domain name like onlinecoursetrading.com, I check if this name is available. So if the name is available, I will be given the opportunity to, okay, it's available. So I have the opportunity to put my details: first name, last name, the business name optional. You choose your country, the street address, the postal code, and then, of course, importantly, your email address. And then you choose the kind of plan you want, if it's the basic site, or if it's for 12 months or for 24 months or whichever. Then there are other things that can be purchased along, like privacy and things like that. You may choose to turn it off. And at the end of the day, you have the site, the amount it's requiring you to pay, and then you put in your credit card and you submit, you purchase it. So there and then you have a site ready that can be used to host your Moodle application. After acquiring the hosting package, the next step is to go online and check that this hosting package we have acquired meets the minimum requirements to host Moodle. How do we do that? We just go back online, and then we log in. Like I said, this is the Bluehost site. So I click on login, and then I need to enter in the credentials I used in the registration. So for my site, I used online-courses-training.net. So you choose it and enter your password, then log in. Nice. So now that we are logged in, we can see this panel, which is like a control panel that can give us access to the back end of our site. So when you hear of back end, this is simply what it means, where you can do configurations, you can add people, you can add sites, you can add features, upload your files. So here we are just going to look at the section that says advanced. Now, advanced takes you to the control panel itself, where you see things like the file manager, the databases on our package, the email, the metrics, security, on, and several interesting things that are on this server. Now, what we want to do is to make sure that this server has the minimum requirements it takes to install Moodle. And what are these requirements? Remember, when we checked and downloaded Moodle, we saw what the requirements are. One of it is PHP 7.2. Okay, the other is you must have MySQL minimum of 5.6, on your web server. So let's check that our server has this stuff. So to do that, the easiest way is to go under databases and check on the feature called PHP My Admin. So click on PHP My Admin and it opens to you where you get details about your particular server. Now, you can see the database server here, and the server version you have is 5.6.4. Okay, and if you go back to the latest release, you see that our MySQL is 5.6, so we're in good order here. The next thing is PHP. It says PHP 7.2. So how do we know which PHP we are running in? And you can see here under web server, I have PHP 7.3.6. So indeed, I have a higher version of PHP, which is okay. But many times you will see that either your database or your PHP version is not the correct one, it's probably lower. For instance, initially, the PHP was less than 7.3. So to get to the correct version of PHP, if yours is less, Bluehost give you some functionality, you can do that. So just scroll down and look for, under software, there is a section that says multi-PHP manager. So click on multi-PHP manager. So this brings up this page that gives you an information about the PHP version on this server. Already, there is an information here that PHP versions 7.0 and 7.1 are deprecated. They are no longer going to be used. You see, so if that is what is in your server, you have to upgrade it. And the good thing is it's easy to upgrade. This is my site, so I click on it and I select the PHP version I want. So it's best to select the highest one. So if I had a lower version of PHP, I just need to select it and then apply, and then my PHP is updated. So having gone through all these steps, I have tried to fulfill the basic requirement of what it takes to have Moodle installed. The next thing to do is to upload the downloaded Moodle file into a folder called public HTML. That is step 6. So I go back online. Let me go to my cPanel that I came in from initially. I scroll up to the top of my control panel and look for the file manager. Now the file manager is the feature that you can use to upload files and get files into the system. So click on the file manager, brings you to a list of all the files in the system. So you can see the binary file, on and on. We need not worry about them. Just go to the public HTML file. Now, any file that you want everybody to see, or any file that you want to use accessible for people over the internet, goes into this public HTML file. So click on it and then it fetches the directory. So the next thing you do now is, since you are inside the public HTML file, you upload the Moodle file that has been downloaded. There is an upload button at the top of the page here. So click on upload, and then there are different ways you can upload. For instance, you can drop the files and then start uploading. So if I want to do that, I just need to come into my downloads folder and select the Moodle that I've downloaded. For instance, Moodle test this. So I just drag it in here. So we'll just wait until the upload is done, and then we have the Moodle in our site. Okay, so the upload of the Moodle file is complete. So let's go back to the control panel. Let's refresh our page and see what we have uploaded. So here is it, Moodle-latest. So the next step is step 7, where you unzip the uploaded file. So to do that, we have to get back to the site, click on the uploaded file, right click on it. You'll see an icon here that says extract. So click on extract. It tells you where do you want to extract the file. So we're extracting the file into the public HTML folder. Just click on extract. The whole file will be extracted and we have the extraction results. So click on close and we see the result here. So you have the Moodle file ready. So this concludes the 7 steps, pre-installation steps necessary to get Moodle functioning. So in this video, we had looked at Moodle, the different ways of getting Moodle, the basic requirements, and more importantly, we have seen part 1, the pre-installation steps. So the next video, we will be able to go through the installation proper. Thank you.